Oh, we're back, baby. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey on the big stage at SNY's Connecticut Ice Festival.
Rich Kelly made some Bobcats history on Friday night.
And Trisha Fabry and her squad are back on track.
We've got a lot to get started with. Let's get it on. This is Sports Paws on Q30.
Welcome, everyone, to Sports Paws with my main man, Tom Krosnowski. I'm Bryan Schwartz.
I heard you missed us. We're back. Let's get right to it. Now there's a lot to discuss.
Yes, sir.
QU taking on UConn in the inaugural SNY Connecticut Ice Tournament. Now this is an event people have been waiting for a very, very long time. Nick Germain, a Connecticut native, taking it through the start and facing off against UConn. Pick it up here in the first period. And it would be UConn that gets off the early lead. Wyatt Newpower hits the post, it bounces right to Ruslan Ishakov. That's an Islanders draft pick. He gives UConn the 1-0 lead. Just 18 seconds later, though, Quinnipiac gets it right back off the faceoff. Tufto to Chuksta. And this time, Chuksta ties it up 1-1. Not even 20 seconds later, Chuksta fired up as he goes to the bench. Again, just over 5 minutes later, now Tufto, great defensive play. Bongiovanni, top cheese over the goalie's shoulder. 2-1 lead for Quinnipiac. That's Bongiovanni's 12th of the season to lead ECAC hockey. UConn benefits off a fortuitous bounce, however. Carter Turnbull, it doesn't get much easier than that. It's 2-2 after one period. After about 10 minutes of scoreless play in the second, Quinnipiac throws one behind the net. Nick Germain tries the old spinorama move, goes one way, fakes the other, gets it to bounce off of goaltender Ramajka and into the net. That would end up being all the scoring in this one. Germain's goal, the 8th of the season, the game winner. Quinnipiac takes it 3-2 in Game 1 of Connecticut Ice.
And with that win, Quinnipiac would face off in the championship game with the other winner. That was Sacred Heart, another young up-and-coming team in the country. The championship game, the very first final of SNY's Connecticut Ice Festival. Pioneers beat up Yale in the first game, 6-2. Here we go, first period. Carlos Chuksta rockets a shot from the point, 1-0 Bobcats, his 4th goal of the year. Now we move to the second period. Pioneers would respond. It's Jordan Kaplan who lays a pass into the slot. Ryan Steele with the one-timer, tying the game at 1-1. Now moving along later in the second, a drop pass from Evan Wasaki to Todd Gorin. Snipes one Petruzzelli, 2-1 Bobcats. Pioneers, excuse me. Not even a minute later, it's Jason Cotton. Takes the puck, scores. 3-1. Sacred Heart's captain extends their lead. And Quinnipiac in the third period, unable to capitalize after pulling its goalie. Sacred Heart taps it in. The empty netter, 4-1 Sacred Heart. Pioneers, the inaugural SNY Connecticut Ice champion with the 4-1 win over Quinnipiac.
It was definitely a disappointing finish for Quinnipiac and an impressive victory for an Atlantic hockey school in Sacred Heart. Afterwards, men's ice hockey beat reporter Patrick Flatley and I broke down how the Pioneers were able to dominate the Bobcats. The Connecticut Ice Tournament has come and gone. Sacred Heart Pioneers are your champions. They beat Quinnipiac 4-1 here at the Webster Bank Arena on Sunday to win the first ever Collegiate Cup. Alongside Pat Flatley, I'm Tom Krosnowski. And Pat, things actually looked pretty good for the Bobcats at the start. They jumped out to a 1-0 lead. What stood out to you early?
Yeah, it was the exact opposite of last night. Bobcats came out slow last night and things kind of turned around in that second intermission. But like I said, it was the opposite today. Kind of fast start for the Bobcats. They came out, scored that first goal, and then things just made a turn for the worse in the second period.
Yeah, things made a turn for the worse, and I think mostly the bigger problem seems to be defense. The shots really flip-flopped. Quinnipiac had a big shot advantage in the first, and Sacred Heart got the big shot advantage from the second moving on. They never looked back. Was it something maybe that Quinnipiac was doing defensively that didn't work, or did Sacred Heart just put the pedal to the metal?
Yeah, defensively they were just a step behind the whole period. Like Rand said, a couple turnovers. Same thing with last night. It was a problem again tonight. But the D zone was just not locked down. That's something that he's been stressing, something that Quinnipiac's culture and identity have been locking down the defensive zone first, and it just was absent tonight. He said in the post-game press conference that was an atrocious period, probably one of their worst of the season so far. So right there, that's where the problem started for Quinnipiac tonight.
6 different periods played over the last 2 days, and he called them basically 6 different games entirely. And not just on the defensive end, the offensive end as well. Quinnipiac went cold as the game went on. What do they got to do to shake things up offensively?
Yeah, Quinnipiac's top line of DeYoung, Tufto, and Bongiovanni were on it last night with Bongiovanni's goal off of Tufto. But they kind of went quiet tonight. First period, everybody was buzzing, due in part to that top line going. And then they went quiet in the second period, and the rest of the team followed.
In the end, not the result that Quinnipiac was looking for. They beat UConn last night, lose to Sacred Heart today by a score of 4-1. They are your inaugural Connecticut Ice champions. Hopefully we can come back and cover this event and maybe get a different result next time.
Hopefully.
So for Pat Flatley, I'm Tom Krosnowski. This has been The Rebound on Q30 Sports.
All right, let's check out where the Bobcats now stack up in the ECAC standings. That is a deadlock at 5th place with Colgate and RPI. Clarkson and Cornell are up at the top, both with 20 league points. Harvard, then Dartmouth follow before Quinnipiac.
The latest USCHO poll was released earlier this afternoon, and Quinnipiac fell ever so slightly after a split weekend at the Connecticut Ice. The Bobcats dropped from 17th last week to 18th this week. Meanwhile, Sacred Heart has jumped back into the top 20 after a weekend where they swept 2 ECAC hockey schools and won an in-season tournament. Quinnipiac's next game comes Friday against number 1 Cornell.
Another big matchup on the ice, this one in Columbus. Quinnipiac women visited Ohio State for a 2-game series. First matchup went to the Buckeyes. Sarah Sakinen and Gabby Rosenthal scored for Ohio State. Bobcats got on the board from a tally by Laura Lundblad. 2-1 win for Ohio State. Would they sweep the weekend? Ohio State would. It was a 3-2 loss for the Bobcats. Taylor Gerard scored her first goal with Quinnipiac. Laura Lundblad scored her 4th point in 4 consecutive games. Not enough, though. Buckeyes sweep the weekend in Columbus. So now we take a look at the ECAC women's hockey standings, where Quinnipiac stays put with 2 games against the Buckeyes. A WCHA squad. Cornell has its spot at the top. Harvard, Clarkson, Princeton follow, and it's Yale, Colgate, Union, and then Quinnipiac knotted up with St. Lawrence, each with 12 league points. Tom now is standing by with our Quinnipiac women's hockey expert, Mike Dalton.
Pleasure to have you here on Sports Paws, Mike. A lot of action going on for this Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team. We're out of the top 10 for most of this year, and they got back in. So what's been holding this team back from being a consistent top 10 team? They fell back out this week.
Well, I think it's definitely got to be offense, Tom. Ever since the Bobcats went in and beat the Harvard Crimson back on January 10th, they haven't been able to put 30 shots on goal in the past 4 games. And granted, against Ohio State, the Bobcats did hit the post a couple of times, and they had a goal get reversed against them, and they ended up getting swept over the weekend, as Brian just stated. So I think offense has been really holding this team back so far. Defensively has been phenomenal, but offense definitely needs some improvement.
Well, they did lose those 2 games in Ohio State, but it was a great turnaround for them before that. So who stepped up, in your eyes, most for the Bobcats over that stretch?
Well, it's a player that Brian just stated, and it's Laura Lundblad. She's had 2 goals in the past 3 games, and she's one of the faster skaters, so she's very good on the forecheck. Brooke Bonsteel has been Laura Lundblad's teammate since pretty much day 1, said at Media Day earlier that she has the skills as a coach that you just can't teach. She's always buzzing, she's always in every corner, and she's to the puck first more often than not. And I think that's really big, especially to be a forechecker. And she's able to turn the puck over a lot, especially in the neutral zone and sometimes in the offensive zone. And that gives her players the opportunity to get on the attack and try and get a chance on offense.
We'll see if she can continue that hot stretch lately. The road doesn't get much easier for Quinnipiac, though, after the Ohio State weekend. Princeton's coming to town. They are a top 10 program. So what do the Bobcats have to do to beat these guys?
Honestly, Tom, I think they need to get as much traffic in front of the net as possible. The Bobcats were able to get 36 shots on goal the first time they played the Tigers back on October 29th. And I think that the defense is going to have to get involved offensively as well. They're going to have to control the puck in the blue line and at the top of the circle in the offensive zone and try and get a shot on goal when they can. especially when there's a lot of traffic moving around in front of the goaltender. Stephanie Neatby played a very good game for Princeton, making 36 saves and only allowing 2 goals. I think the Bobcats will do fine defensively. They have grown a lot since that game way back in late October. So I don't think defense is going to be too much of a problem. But offense, if they make a lot of traffic in front of the net, I think they got a chance.
And we'll have to see. They played them good the first time. We'll see what they got in store this time. It sure would be a big win if they can get it. But that's all for Mike Dalton. Thanks as always for joining us here on Sports Paws. Back to you, Brian, at the desk.
All right, thank you guys. Good stuff as always. Time to take a quick break. The Quinnipiac men's basketball program continues to impress. History on the horizon for one Bobcat. We've got that and Trisha Fabry's team facing 2 of the MAC's best. We'll be right back with that and more.
Julia, are you ready to play band with us? I'm gonna play my clarinet.
And Elmo's gonna play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's hit hardwood at the People's United Center. We go to Quinnipiac, taking on Fairfield in state battle between 2 good MAC basketball teams. In the first half, we start off with Rich Kelly. He gets the first layup up and in. Early 2-0 lead for Quinnipiac. Later in the first half, it's Tyrese Williams passing it over to Tyree Pickron. Pickron back from injury, hits on the 3, his first bucket of the season. Near the end of the first half, Jacob Bergoni drives in, hits the layup, and won 36-32. Bobcats have the lead. Now in the second half, said Rich Kelly's name earlier, off the inbound pass, he gets it back from Kevin Marfo for the 3-point shot, and that, my friends, is number 1,000. Rich Kelly etched in Quinnipiac history, 1,000 career points. So congrats to Rich.
That was a cool moment.
Now in the second half, Kelly returns the favor from Marfo. Slam-a-jamma. How about that, Kevin Marfo? Bobcats up big, end of the game. Quinnipiac goes on a big run. They win at 81-67. Tom, a big win for those Bobcats.
It was a big win, and you were busy after the game, Brian, catching
Absolutely.
up with fellow beat reporter John Surratt on another Q30 rebound. Let's see what you guys had to say.
Welcome to the rebound with myself, John Surratt, and Bryan Schwartz after Quinnipiac Bobcats beat Fairfield today on Friday. Now, Brian, the Quinnipiac Bobcats lost the past 2, Manhattan and St. Peter's. Now they come back and beat Fairfield. How does this help them get back on the roll, get back in the swing of things in the MAC play?
Well, we've seen the last couple of games. The Bobcats have been a bit banged up. They have been without Brendan McGuire. Savion Lewis is out for an extended period of time, and Aaron Falzone also got banged up as well in that Manhattan game. But we saw today the Bobcats really grinded that game out, like you said, and that's what they have to do when they're not shooting the ball well. You got to rely on guys like Kevin Marfo. He's one of the greatest players in this conference. He can really get after it down on the low block, and he did that tonight, as well as Rich Kelly, who shot the ball well. The whole team played well, I think, tonight, and that's why they were able to grind out the score.
You mentioned Rich Kelly. He got his 1,000th point today. How does it feel? How does it make the coach feel and players feel all around? Just get that celebratory event happen for himself.
Well, we talked to Coach Baker Dunleavy after the game, and he was obviously very proud of Rich. Rich was someone that came with Baker into this program 3 years ago. They both entered the Quinnipiac program together, and they both thrived together. Rich has been a perfect point guard in Baker's system, and he's really played well his whole career, and this 1,000th point was just another testament to that. And Baker's kept saying in the post-game press conference that this is what happens when you buy into the program that Baker has here at Quinnipiac. Rich has bought in, and he has really shown.
Now, Brian, this team, after that game, what does this team need to do to maintain that success that they found throughout this game and throughout the rest of the season?
Well, one is stay healthy. That's obviously the biggest key, and they are starting to get healthy. Tyree Pickron played today for the first time all season. He's back, and he's another key piece for this team. But what the Bobcats need to do is just stay gritty. When they're not hitting their shots, when everything's not going right, they need to stay the course, stay a team, and that's what they did tonight. That's what they have to keep doing to continue to have success this season.
And head coach Baker Dunleavy has been preaching this team needs to find wins when things just aren't going right. For Bryan Schwartz, I'm John Surratt. This has been The Rebound, Q30 Sports.
After the 14-point victory over Fairfield, the Bobcats traveled to upstate New York 2 days later to take on the Siena Saints at the Times Union Center. Bobcats couldn't keep the same magic going from beyond the arc versus the Saints, losing by 23 points. Saints shot over 57% from the floor and 50% from three, as the Bobcats defense had no answer for Jalen Pickett and his 25 points. The Bobcats couldn't get much going shooting the ball and were out-rebounded by 9 boards, not something that happens very often with this team.
And that Jalen Pickett he's something, Tom. With the loss, Quinnipiac has jumped at the top by Monmouth. Winners of 4 in a row are the Hawks. They're 6-2 overall in the MAC. The MAC is wild right now with the next 6 teams all within a half game of each other. Iona, Canisius, Marist, all at the bottom of the conference. Disappointing start to the season for those Gales who sit way down there in the cellar.
A typical MAC, 2 games separating the top from the bottom in this
unbelievable
conference, huh? Typical MAC.
Never
it's going
know
to be.
what's gonna happen.
Never know. Meanwhile, the women's team came into the week riding a 3-game conference winning streak. Bobcats faced a stiff test on Thursday, though, squaring off against Marist, a team that had won 5 of its first 6 conference games. Red Foxes proved too much for Quinnipiac to handle on both ends of the floor, winning 73-60. Quinnipiac couldn't stop Marist from shooting over 53% from the floor, while the Bobcats struggled to find offensive rhythm. 4 Bobcats players reached double figures in scoring, but none could even reach half of Marist star Alana Gilmer, who racked up 30 points on 14 of 25 shooting. Big day for Gilmer. Now we're going to take it right to 2 days later at Quinnipiac, home versus Fairfield. We're going to get back on the horse. Second game in Fairfield weekend basketball series Saturday afternoon. Fairfield is undefeated heading into Hampton. We'll see if Quinnipiac can hand them their first conference loss. Going into the first quarter here, Shaq Edwards pass it to Curtiera Hayward. 3-pointer. Hayward having a very impressive season so far. Now we move into the second quarter. There's point guard Mackenzie DeWeese on the drive. She can't finish on the layup, but Michaela Morris, she's on the glass, puts it in for the and-1 finish. Later in the quarter, here's Edwards moving back to the 3-point line. She finds an open DeWeese under the basket for the easy layup. Bobcats going on a 24-9 run in the quarter to jump out to a commanding lead. Given that, let's skip straight to the fourth quarter. Quinnipiac moving the ball around the court, finding an open Taylor Hurd. Corner 3, cash. And to close out the game, here's Paige Warfel grabbing her 10th rebound. That gives her a double-double on the day. Bobcats shocked the Stags, final 76-62. Quinnipiac travels to St. Peter's for the next game on Thursday night. Following that game, Brian spoke with a few of the players and Trisha Fabry about the meaning of this victory.
In a season full of ups and downs so far for the Quinnipiac women's basketball team, they needed a big win, and they got that today, 76-62 over the Fairfield Stags. And the Bobcats needed a statement win, and the players say they got just that.
Today was more of a statement game for the rest of the conference, showing that Quinnipiac is still here and we can still have the ability to be on top.
I would say that this game was a confidence booster because this was our first win against like a really big team. So it just shows the rest of the team like, hey, we're still in it. We can beat Ryder and Marist.
Definitely statement win. Gets us to 5-3. Having seen, besides going into seeing St. Peter's and Niagara, I think that'll put us at seeing everybody the first turn. So young ones, old ones alike, starting to really come together, especially on the defensive side.
There was a lot of motivation from our loss we took on Thursday. We wanted to be 1-1 this week, but we really wanted to be 2-0, but we said, hey, let's just be 1-1 and give them their first loss.
To know that Quinnipiac still is here and still is able to accomplish what they've accomplished in previous years, maybe not an undefeated conference schedule, but when we get to the MAC tournament, we're hoping that we can put it on all the other teams.
We're still here.
Now the Bobcats hope this win sets the tone for the rest of the season as they look for a 4th straight MAC title. From the People's United Center, Bryan Schwartz, Q30 Sports.
After the Bobcats rebounded on Saturday with a 14-point victory over Fairfield, let's see how the conference standings are looking. Quinnipiac sits just 1 place behind Fairfield after giving them their first MAC loss of the season. Bobcats are 5-3 in the conference and currently slotted 4th, ahead of Manhattan and Niagara. Quinnipiac is 2.5 games behind first place, undefeated Ryder. Now let's take it over to women's basketball beat reporter Eric Kerr. He's standing by with Bryan Schwartz. Take it away, guys.
All right, Tom. Eric, you saw Quinnipiac. They finally rebounded in that game against Fairfield. They beat a team that was undefeated in the MAC so far at 6-0. Who has stepped up for this women's basketball team?
Well, I mean, you've seen it as well in the games you've covered, Brian. Kurtier Haywood is my answer. Freshman coming in, 6'2" forward, and she's a big player out there, but she can also stretch the floor out with her size. She's averaging 8.8 points per game, shooting 50% from the field and 45% from the three-point line. So her size and her ability to spread the floor and shoot it from outside beyond the arc has given their team that space to be able to free up lanes for their ball handlers and Mackenzie DeWeese and Shaq Edwards to drive inside.
Yeah, no doubt Kurtier Haywood has made a huge impact on this team, but the Bobcats made a little lineup change over the past few games. What has that led to their success in your eyes?
Yes, of course. So as I mentioned, Kurtier Haywood was a part of that change, but also instead of inserting Sajeda Bonner in at the guard spot, they threw in Mackenzie DeWeese instead, to give the Bobcats that second option for a ball handler out there and to relieve some of the pressure off of Shaq Edwards from bringing it up. And not only, as I mentioned, Haywood provides that spacing as well as the defense in her end, but DeWeese provides a solid energy to the floor. She's kind of like the spark plug for the team. She's always hyping up her teammates after a play, taking in charge over there on the floor. She's doing all the little things that she can to help her team win games.
So we know they were competitive with some of the better teams in the conference. Ryder, Marist, they beat Fairfield. Can they win the MAC?
I mean, it's tough to say right now because there's still a lot of games left in the conference, but I still think that this team has a good chance. Looking at the competition in the MAC, as we mentioned, they played 2 of the top 3 teams this weekend, beat one of them in Fairfield in convincing fashion. So all in all, I think they still have a chance considering the experience that they have in this roster. They actually have players that they're only a team that still have players that have MAC championship experience, so that's going to be big for the long run.
Yeah, there's not a single player in the conference that's not on Quinnipiac that has won a MAC championship.
Of course.
Never know. Good stuff, Eric. Tom?
Thank you, Eric. As always, now back on Sports Paws, we're nearing the finish line. We're going to finish strong. Quinnipiac women's tennis is back while the women's track team traveled up to Boston. Top 5 plays are also next, and you're not going to want to miss them. Sports Paws will be right back.
There are amazing things to discover in the forest.
Toothless, time to go! What you picking up on, bud?
It's a whole hidden world of wonders. And the perfect place to spend time with family. What better place to let your imagination soar? Experience nature and create a memory you can share. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest or park near you.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
Give your town a reason to celebrate. Because every Goodwill item you bring home brings job training and more to your community.
Thanks for sticking with us on Sports Paws. It's still cold outside, but the women's tennis team is back for its spring season. They played last Monday at Harvard, losing 6-1, and traveled to Yale over the weekend, where they lost 7-0. Sophomore Camilla Nella picked up the lone individual victory over the week.
Quinnipiac Track and Field competed at the John Thomas Terrier Classic, hosted by Boston University Saturday. Few notables: sophomore Simone Foster finished 8th in the finals of the 60-meter hurdles competition. Junior Brittany Del Mundo won the triple jump, and former Bobcat rugby star Mika Maples was 10th in the shot put competition.
Gotta love that cross-sport crossover.
Yeah, how about that? We saw Jen
that.
Fay last year. Now Mika Maples making that transition. It's
Absolutely love that. But you know what time it is? It's time for the top 5 plays here on Sports Paws. It's been too long, man.
Let's get it. Top 5. Number 5, Shaq Edwards finding Mackenzie Deweese under the bucket, who puts it in. Watch this play. Look at the vision. Look at Mackenzie Deweese get up and under. Maybe a foul that they missed there? How about that?
Maybe. From women's hoops to men's hoops. Talked about Rich Kelly before. This time, he's going to dish it off to Kevin Amarfo. He doesn't mess around. Dunks it over the Fairfield defense.
Number 3 in the Connecticut Ice Festival, the semifinals, Bobcats facing UConn. Carlos Chuksta from the blue line finds the back of the net. Bobcats win 3-2.
That was the semifinals. This was in the finals. And this time, Odin Tufto dropping off for Wyatt Bongiovanni. What a ripper there to get it past Vomajko. Is a really good goalie.
Rich Kelly had a big day on Friday night and a chance to make history. The number 1 play of the week, Rich Kelly for 3. That, my friends, is number 1,000. Rich Kelly history. Let's check it out one more time. The number 1 play, nice screen by Marfo, and the 3-pointer is good.
And no choice. Number 1 play of the year so far as I'm concerned.
It's a pretty big milestone for Rich Kelly in just 2.5 years now.
Yeah, last week sure was special, Brian, but let's see what's on tap for this week. Ahead, we got some real good hockey in the area this weekend. Longtime QU rival, current number 1 seed Cornell's coming to town. QU versus Yale, and women's ice, that's going to be at Ingles. Men's basketball going to Canisius. Men's lacrosse, they start their season at Rutgers. So a whole lot of sports action going on this weekend.
It's pretty crazy that lacrosse season is almost underway now.
Time is flying
by. End of January. We're getting close, Tom. We're getting close. That men's basketball game against Canisius, they got to turn it around after the loss the other day.
They do. And Canisius, they've given them some trouble over the years. Always good games between those two.
Absolutely.
See how this one turns out.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Before we close out the show, you can see Tom and I are sporting our purple and gold ties to pay tribute to Kobe Bryant, who tragically passed away, along with 8 others Sunday morning in a helicopter crash.
We honor the life and legacy of Kobe, who inspired all of us with his Mamba mentality. Our thoughts are with each family affected by this tragedy.